Meeting all wrinkle free doctor stands. Just in time.
Okay. That's fine. Was there a Martin Luther King, Malcolm X alliance in formation?
Oh, I believe there definitely was a Martin Luther King, Malcolm X alliance. People said they only met once. I think they met actually. I've heard 3 different people give 3 different instances. Okay, one was in D.C., all right, and one was here in Harlem, where I think that picture of Malcolm and Martin Luther King together, wasn't that taken in Harlem? But I have also met a black, I think he's a minister, Robert, what's his name? Oh, gee. He was with, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to start over, but he was with Harlem Parents Committee. Robert, he lives in Jersey. Or is it Robert? What's a common, but anyway, he mentioned, oh.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Move that white cardboard further out of the picture.
Oh,
Okay, good.
all right. He mentioned an incident that I don't think anyone knew about. He said he had Malcolm and Martin Luther King in his own apartment discussing things. And I don't know anyone who knows about that. He's a wonderful, what's his name? He used to, I think, teach at the, not the Union Theological Seminary, but the New York Theological Seminary, which is heavily black. What's his name? He lives in Jersey, in Teaneck, and he's almost blind. Oh, gosh. But anyway, he said he had them right in his apartment discussing, but it's never been, out, in public, and written anywhere.
How could we have prevented Malcolm X assassination in hindsight, do you think? Good question.
Actually, I don't think anything could have stopped that assassination. I think it was a part of destiny. As much as people would wish they could have stopped it, that he could have continued the leadership and made an influence, I think it was just already, it was his destiny. But in a way, I think maybe, nobody would want to have seen him killed, and yet that spurred the struggle more than anything else could have. Because what it did was the struggle mushroomed, and then right after his assassination, it was like 10,000 little Malcolms. The new young bloods were coming up and were not afraid to say the things that he was saying, where the older Negro people would not even open their mouth about. And so, in a way, he just brought the movement forward that much more and on a higher level.
Do you remember, could you deal with any forgotten incidents? Something that may not be well known, like you gave us one excellent one, which was the arrest of Walter Bowl and the other 3 characters, other 2 guys. Is there any other incidents like that low profile but were very telling?
Oh, I'm sure there are many, many incidences. Well, like, there was, I think, there are just so many. Look at the kind of people that Malcolm brought to his forum, like Babu. Babu died last summer, I heard. And it's too bad that the black struggle here then didn't catch it and have a special day of recognition for Babu of Tanzania, because Malcolm here brought a real African revolutionary to his group. And how often would people get to hear a real revolutionary? And look at even Babu got into all kinds of, I don't know all the reasons, but he went through a lot of difficulties even in his own country. But also look at, he almost was able to bring Che Guevara. And I think the government said that Guevara, while he was visiting here at the UN, he could not go more than, I don't know, so many miles, and they said that Harlem was beyond that, you know, what is it, not the deadline, whatever you call it. So, you know, they wouldn't let Guevara come up here. But Malcolm brought so many important people to Harlem, and that was part of the internationalizing of the struggle, that he wanted the people here to go beyond Black America and see what other liberators were doing. And certainly he opened their eyes. Oh, look at how many of the black group, after his death, look how many groups who were influenced. Well, even before he died, there was RAM, and actually he was a member of RAM, all right? And look at how he influenced even SNCC, the Panther parties. There were several different Panther parties, but he influenced them all. The black student unions, and one of the first black student union was the one that Shimarenga started in San Francisco State. And then there were many, many blacks who were in different groups against the Vietnam War, like BAN, Blacks Against Negative Dying, Embasadu, a lot of different black groups who were against the war. And all those groups against the war were teaching, again like Malcolm, about imperialism and colonialism and stuff. He also, if Malcolm did not speak out for black nationhood, there would never have been a Republic of New Africa, the provisional government, then, or the Malcolm X Society in Detroit. And also, after the Republic of New Africa, there was the African People's Party, there was the NAPO, New African People's Party, there was a National Committee for the Defense of Political Prisoners, that all those groups were groups that were influenced by Malcolm. Even a women's group called BWE, Black Women Enraged. I mean, he touched so many people. And then when you think that, you know, they said there's 3 countries that have a stamp with Malcolm's picture on it. One is Iran, and I think one is a Caribbean country. I don't know what the third. But also, there has been a play written about Malcolm, written by a Christian from, what's the country in South America starting with U, where the Tupamaros began. What's the country in South America, Tupamaros? Uruguay. This guy named, what's his name? Oh, wait, his name will come back to me. But anyway, in 1965, this minister was in Paris, and the Malcolm X autobiography came out. He read it and was so moved by it that when he went back to Uruguay, but by the time he went back to Uruguay, this guy was put in prison for 7 years. But not because of, I don't think it was because of the book, of the play on Malcolm he wrote, but because I think they suspected him of being a Tupamaro. But anyway, he wrote a play that played in Uruguay in '66. It played in Chile in '67, in Cuba in '69, in Czechoslovakia in '70, and Poland in '71. Also, Malcolm's speeches and stuff has been translated into Italian, French, German, Spanish, Japanese, and probably maybe some African dialects or languages. I mean, he has truly become international. And so I think, too, another thing that he's taught then is not only that, you know, today you always hear, love yourself, that's all you have to do. You can't just love yourself. you have to love all humanity if you want to change the world. And if you really want this world to be a kind of place where everybody can benefit from the goods of this world, you know, I mean, I think there's just so much that Malcolm has taught, but we haven't caught all of it. And that's why I think his story has to be told and retold, and from many, many perspectives.
Do you think that, because I recognize, say, take Malcolm X for instance, you have the people who, you know, they only want Malcolm, the firebrand, you know, cutting and just talking mainly on the white man or what have you. You have people that, you know, take him for this reason or that reason. You know, they'll even cut him up in the same speech.
Yeah.
You know, they want the bullet. They don't even talk about how he talked about the ballot. They just want to talk about the bullet.
Yeah.
You know, do you think that what quality do you think Malcolm had that maybe these people don't have, that allows them or pushes them to narrow themselves the way you spoke of earlier, and different sects or what have you, that stops them from coming together the way Malcolm envisioned, you know, into a united front, a progressive front?
Well, I think Malcolm was not an ordinary person, really. Here was a guy who went through the worst kind of hell, and I hate to use the word shit, as all black people. And yet he what's the word, went above and beyond. He was, and about Malcolm, I think that what he had that many people don't know, even when he was very, very young, I mean, before he went into whether it's people call petty criminal activities, he loved people. He loved everybody. And after just meeting Wilfred, I mean, I could just see from the things that Wilfred told me what his parents, and especially his mother, tried to imbue in all the kids. I mean, Malcolm was lucky to have the kind of parents, I think, who did, what do you call it, plant seeds in him. And I think those seeds about how much he wanted to see a truly humane world, because he had all that within himself, the decency and this thing about love for all humanity. And that's why I think it's sort of sad that in Spike Lee's film, you don't see it all. What is good, though, about Spike Lee's film, it shows the transitions Malcolm went from doing negative things to, you know, that you can change and do positive things. But it didn't give enough the kind of character he even had, despite some, even though he was doing some negative things. He had that real, very deep kind of feeling of decency and love for everyone. And I think that's the kind of thing that we all have to have. And we all have to start from rock bottom. And if we don't have it, we have to somehow develop it in ourselves. And then each of us can grow up to become parents. Then we have to imbue it in our kids. And I think teachers have to do it. Churches have to do it. And workplaces have to show it, you know, in treating everybody right. And this is what Malcolm wanted so much. And here, you know, they talk about Malcolm was a man of hate. He hated all the things that decent people should hate. You know, I mean, he hated tyranny. He hated oppression or anyone who oppressed others. He hated those who lied. He hated phoniness, and he hated hypocrisy. All those things that he would really lash out at. That if people could see that he was the ideal person who was teaching us what to hate, and here they turned it around and made him into a hater, and they just also turned around, or they never put out what he was as a man of love. I mean, he really loved justice and humanity and all the things of where every human being could have a fair shake in life. And that's what he was trying so hard. And I think all of us, if we really love him, we have to try to bring those things forward and let it blossom.
Back at the Audubon Ballroom, going back to that, you said that most of the meetings that leading up to the assassination, except for one, which was the week before you attended, we've gotten conflicting stories on the population. Now, how many people were actually coming out? Some people argue that Malcolm lost his constituency, that the Harlem community began to, after his Mecca trip, question whether he was changing his position. Charles Kenyatta has said that there were 100 people in the ballroom on the day of the assassination. We have gotten quotes to it.
There were 400, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten those type of quotes too. So we would like to know, for most of the rallies that you went out to, what was the population about, and what was the Harlem community saying about Malcolm after the split?
Well, of course, those who are diehard NOI people, I mean, they remain as diehard NOI. But when Malcolm left, I think they said that 200 people came out. Now, that's a lot. When you're in an organization like NOI where, you know, I mean, you have the fruits there watching you and all, to leave the Nation of Islam, I think it took a lot of guts. And Malcolm wasn't sure how many were going to come out after him. And with that group that came out is the group that he started, MMI, Muslim Mosque Incorporated. And then he knew that he had to have a different group for OAU. I mean, it'd be hard to say what were the numbers, you know, of his followers, because there were many, many people who dug the things that Malcolm said, who you saw, you know, pictures when they have street scene. They were there on the streets listening to him, but they may never have made an OAU meeting, you know, and they were not maybe in the Liberation School, but they were learning out on the streets. I think it's really difficult to say what were the numbers. I mean, today people just go by numbers just because Farrakhan got 10,000 people at a couple of meetings. One was at the, what was it, at the, what's that, 34th Street, what's 34th Street, that big,
UN.
no, 34th,
DC?
Madison Square.
Madison Square. Why didn't you, oh, you couldn't tell me?
No, because
No,
see, when you
because
hear their voice, it ruins. So
it
that's why they
ruins
hold
the-
back. You know,
Oh.
sometimes they might want to assist you and aid you, but it ruins the take.
Oh.
You know, that's why we hold back. You know.
Or we would have to just, it takes more work to edit around. It
Yeah.
really
Oh.
and this is our supreme editor here, so he does that on his own. So
Okay.
we're trying to make it easier for him.
But you know, I don't think we could go by numbers like that. I'll bet you 20 years from now, 30, 40 years, that Farrakhan's name may not be anything what it is today, but Malcolm's name will be double, triple, quadruple what it is.
What do you think about? All right, I just want to finish these up because these are on the same line. Gene Roberts. Now he was identified as being on that stage, giving Malcolm mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. It's almost like what you said earlier about